Hallelujah. Kodem Kol Hakivod, the El Elyon, El Shaddai, Yahuwah Shel Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, Yahuwah Kadosh Shel Yisrael, Hashem Shel Hagoel, Yahushua HaMashiach, Ani Mevareket Kol HaMishpachah, Haguf Shel HaMashiach, HaMessianics, Shabbat Shalom and one love. Giving all praise and honor to the Most High, the Almighty, the Yahuwah of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Yahuwah Kadosh, holy, set apart one of the children of Israel. In the name of the Redeemer, Yahushua HaMashiach, I greet each and every one of you all, this Messianic family, and those that are visiting in the room, maybe for the first time. Shabbat Shalom and one love. Thanking Smanu Yah, the gatekeeper, for having this international chat room open. Yahushua speaks from beginning to end, that we have a place to congregate, to fellowship with one another in this international chat room. And it's much love sent out to him for that service. To the elders, Elder Ashir for opening prayers and prayer throughout the week for the family. Elder Ovadia for his labor in bringing forth history, because history should be treasured, because it holds the keys to the past and the hope for the future. Elder Jacob, hallelujah. It's a blessing always to have you in the midst of the family, and much prayers been going up for the Most High for you and Sister Jada. Elder Yaakov, Elder Agda, to the emote, Ima Kanya, Naomi Yah, Yisraela, Panea, Uriah, Shemura, and the brothers Owanya, Avniel, Rontubia, Macmin, and the sisters that make up this Messianic family. Aviyah, Shoshana, Hadassah, Sister Kelly. And I always got to think and remember on you, Brother Peter, because I enjoy listening to your testimonies Most High keep his hands upon both you all. It's truly a blessing and an honor to come before this Messianic family. This Shabbat's message, the suffering servant, had now a few weeks to deal with this subject matter. Yakawa, Sifatai, Tiftakufi, Tigi, Ti Lateaka. Can you post for me at this time John, the 15th chapter, verses 26 and 27? John, the 15th chapter, verses 26 and 27. And it reads on this wise: But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, who proceeded from the Father, he shall testify of me. And ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. It's not by coincidence that through our journeys of life that we have entered into this room. Yahushua speaks from beginning to end. And ye shall also bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning. I want to motivate you to be motivational. I want to inspire you to be inspirational, to be all that you can be revelational. Not just revealing truth hidden in Scripture, but that which was hidden in Yahweh's purpose in you, predestinated, coming out to witness truth. Many people play, amuse oneself, act lightheartedly, mock, mimic contempt for, play act, pretend with the Spirit and being spiritual. We have witnessed this, some of us growing up through our lives, when we did not know our true identity, nor the true worship of the Most High Yahweh, nor the Redeemer's, his son's name, Yahushua HaMashiach. And we witnessed, just like in the video that Jacob, Elder Jacob, had showed when we saw back a little while ago, where T.D. Jakes and Tyler Perry, who dresses up in women's clothes pretending like he's got the Holy Spirit and he's speaking in tongue, and he lays his hands upon him, and they got a parade of a show going on up in church. This playing with the Spirit and being spiritually deceiving themselves. Be not deceived, Yahweh is not marked. The true reality of life's spiritual walk, most people do not understand. It is not wise to seem abstract, existing form or color, rather than by realism, existing in thought or theory, to confound, baffle, confuse in one's mind, that they scratch their head like they looking at an abstract painting, but they cannot understand it, so they come up with whatever theory that they come up with, because it is abstract and it's not in realism. When that which is practical application concerned with practice than theory, what you preach. Practice what you preach, like they used to say. Suited garment of grace and salvational praise, to use sensible and realistic common sense. Practical is needed. In Jeremiah, the 17th chapter, verse 4, this is a practical awareness wake-up shaking that must come upon this called out Messianic family and those that wish to be saved, that are lost in the world through ignorance concerning self-identity and the true worship of the Most High Yahweh in the name of his Son, Yahushua. In Jeremiah, the 17th chapter, verse 4, it reads, "And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." To discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. Heritage, what is or may be inherited. A nation's historic buildings, monuments, country, its land itself, regarded as a worthy preservation. Let us cut them off from being a nation. Discontinue from thine heritage, nationality, land, language, and culture in remembrance. It is not, brethren and sisters of this Messianic family, with excellency of speech or wisdom of the educational system or religious systems of America, nor of the world, that I come before you all this Shabbat, but in demonstration of the spirit of truth and the grace of Yahweh, allowing Uriah and myself of seeing just the other day 40 years here in the land of promise, Israel, this month. My prayer and hope is that this lesson have the ability to make the lives Yahweh has given us Messianics more meaningful, that we desire and want our life to count for Yahweh, and that it might have eternal value. An essential part of this is an awareness of the value and purpose, one's principles, priorities, and standards of our time on earth. I use sometimes with Smanuyah as we converse with one another. Too legit to quit. Pardon me just a second to get a sip of water. Too legit to quit is in 3 points. It is legitimization of the past. History should be treasured because it holds the keys to the past and the hope for the future. 2, confirmation of the present status, social position that our people are looked at as far as in prophecy as in desolate places as negro. Negro. One is a Spanish word meaning black, and the other one, negro, is a Greek word meaning dead. The valley of dry bones. And 3, direction for the future. Restoration of Judah back to the Holy Land, like it was prophesied that I would bring back the tents of Judah first. Judah, as far as in the prophetic, is the prophetic priesthood tribe of Judah underneath Yahushua HaMashiach, the King of Kings and the High Priest. Throughout Scripture, there's an orderly development of all the prophetic themes. In it is Yahweh's written word, in which he reveals, although men, cities, and nations have a large part in the scriptural prophecy, its chief subject is a person, Yahushua HaMashiach, the testimony of witness concerning Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. Say that again. Its chief subject in scriptural prophecy is a person, Yahushua HaMashiach. The testimony of, or the witness concerning Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. So this Shabbat's lesson, the suffering servant, I come to bring 2 main points in this first part 1 of the suffering servant. To the remnant, the true sanctuary, the messianic body of Yahushua, 1, that Yahweh would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of HaMashiach's 2 advents, in which in his first was as the Lamb of Yahweh, the suffering servant, and the second advent as in glory as King of Kings, the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, which that prophecy is knocking at the door as we witness the signs and times that is in the world in these latter days. The second point is to bring your minds the geographical features of Jerusalem and surrounding cities, the area that I've seen and witnessed before you throughout this journey of my life, being here in the land of Israel for 40 years. Once again, Yahuwah, Sifatai, Tiftakufi, Tagi, Tilateaka. Yahuwah, open my mouth and my lips that I may bring forth thy praise. The Suffering Servant, Part 1. Let us look into the book of Luke, the 18th chapter, verse 31. Going to be dealing with verses 31 and 30 to 34, but at this moment, Luke, the 18th chapter, verse 31. And it reads on this wise. Then he, Yahushua, took unto him the 12, and said unto them, Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and all things that are written by the prophets concerning the Son of Man shall be accomplished. In here, we look at the point that an awareness came about as far as in the time cycle of the first advent of Yahushua HaMashiach, that he began to speak to his disciples and said unto them, Behold, it is time now that we go up to Jerusalem, and all things that are written by the prophets concerning the Son of Man shall be accomplished. But the point here is Jerusalem. Clarifying Jerusalem. Just a second, on a post a link. Give a 4 if you can bring up this link. This link, once we get into it, I don't want you to close it out because it's a good link concerning free Bible land maps. And within inside in this link, we're going to be going back and forth inside of it to different places, bringing up different maps. When you get this link, it should be at the top, Free Bible Land Maps. I want you to scroll down to set 4. In set 4, I want you to click on, it's 18A, the land of Canaan from Abraham to Moses. In these maps, we might go up and down in different places, but the main location that I want you to go and bring it down, scroll down till you will see Shechem at your very top. Hold there, and it should bring into play from Shechem going down to Jerusalem and down to Hebron. And you shall see also all the way down into the bottom area, you will see a rod down there in towards the bottom of the map in this section. This would be bringing into play from the north of, dealing from Shechem, coming down to Jerusalem and to Hebron. Okay. With this section right here where we're at, post Smanuyah, Genesis, the 14th chapter, verses 18 through 20. And if you are following with me now with this map, you see Shechem at your top where you should have stopped at, and you see Jerusalem. And in parentheses right underneath, Salem. So begin to read. And it reads in Genesis, the 14th chapter, verses 18 through 20, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Yahweh, El Elyon. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High Elohim, who have delivered thine enemies into thine hand. And he gave him tithes of all. Salem, as we see in this map, where it's showing underneath Jerusalem, Salem. This is the first mention of Jerusalem in the scripture. Its existence as early as this is evident by the Tel El Amarna tablets discovered at Tel El Amarna in Egypt. Melchizedek, king of righteousness. Salem is like in the term which, like in Arabic, you might hear them say, Salam Alaikum, meaning peace be unto you. And somebody would say back, Alaikum Salam. But Salam, meaning peace. This is the first mention, I say, of Jerusalem in Scripture. And this Melchizedek, king of righteousness, king of Salem, means peace. King, priest of El Elyon. El Elyon means highest, the most high. El Elyon is El, the most high. Melchizedek presents Abram with the work of Hamashiach in resurrection, the memorials of sacrifice, bread and wine. Hamashiach is a king priest after the order of Melchizedek and in the endlessness of his priesthood. We see that this location, which I'm saying that it states about the first mentioning concerning Jerusalem, but it's underneath this name, Salem, and the area where it's showing where Abram, he met Melchizedek. We can still hold that looking at this map. Go to Genesis, the 17th chapter, verses 1 through 8, and verses 15 through 19. Genesis, the 17th chapter, verses 1 through 8, and verses 15 through 19. The revelation of El Elyon presenting himself as El Shaddai, the Most High presenting himself as El Shaddai, the Almighty. Genesis, the 17th chapter, verses 1 through 8 and verses 15 through 19. And it reads on this wise. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am El Shaddai, the Almighty El. Walk before me and be thou perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and El Shaddai talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. And in this we look and we see that Abram was as like Avram, exalted father. Abraham is his name being changed, father of many nations. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be an El unto them, to thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee, and to thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a sojourner, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their Elohim. And El Shaddai said unto Abraham, As for Sarai, the pronouncing of her name before it was changed, Sarai, meaning that with that I on it is like a possession saying, my princess, Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, that is 90 years old, bear? So you could kind of see, not for the fact of doubt, but for the fact of the laughter that came upon him for their age. Sarai's name being my princess changed to Sarah, which received at 90 with the promise of who? Isaac. Sarah means princess, for it is the feminine form of the extremely common title Sar, designating a ruler or greater or lesser rank. So we see that Sarah, having this name changed, princess, promise. And it reads here, Then Abraham said unto El Shaddai, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee, because Ishmael was his older son. But the Most High did not choose Ishmael. And therefore we see them acting out still today as what was prophesied concerning his character as a wild man with his hands against everyone in the midst of his brethren, these other Arabs. And El Shaddai said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, which means laughter. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Let us go to Genesis, the 22nd chapter. '22nd chapter of Genesis, verses 1 through 18. Genesis, the 22nd chapter. That map, like I said, at different times we will come back to different places in it like that. But in Genesis, the 22nd chapter, verses 1 through 18, the offering of Isaac. This moves us once again to a look at the location of the test that the Most High Yahweh gives to Abraham. And it reads on this wise, Genesis, the 22nd chapter, verses 1 through 18. And it came to pass after these things that El Shaddai did test Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am, and thy son, thy only son, Isaac. And ain't that strange? He did not even, his own, he disregarded, like he said, he did not. Abraham was trying to get the blessing to be upon Ishmael, his elder son, but the Most High disregarded it. And this is a time period that don't came by. Isaac is no longer still like a little child. Isaac is into like a young man at this age and time. And it says, Take thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Now, the point is, if you, like I said, you could bring that map for a second to look back at it again. To look down, to stroll down and look towards the area. We still like from Shechem, and if you have it from that at the top, you look down. Now, Abraham was in Beersheba dwelling during this time, which is far down into the Negev. It is like an hour and a half drive from where we're at in Mizpeh, Ramon, to get to Beersheba. And going in that direction, like what he's got him going, it says that he went up into Mount Moriah. Okay. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son, and cut the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which El Shaddai had told him. Then on the third day, that's meaning a 3-day journey from when he left from Beersheba. Now, you look at seeing as where you see looking going up, where's the rod? I mean, if you was coming from up towards the north or the middle of the country driving coming down, it's a route called Route 40 that you would travel. But when you're coming down there before getting to Beersheba, you would have to make inland to get to where a rod is at. Now, a rod is only maybe, say, another 20 minutes drive if you was coming from that way to get to Beersheba. So it would not have took him if he was traveling to 3 days to get to that area. It says that he traveled, and on the third day Abram looked up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abram said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. And Abram took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abram said, My son, El Shaddai will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together, and they came to the place which El Shaddai had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. You got to imagine, and looking at this, that this was as a test towards Abraham and his faith. And it had to be, for Isaac was not a little child, that he was not understanding the point of what was going on. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son, and the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest El Shaddai, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of Yahweh it shall be seen. Meaning, Yahweh will provide. He was testing Abraham, and he looked and he saw as his heart was pure towards the Most High. But you got to know for a surety that it was not just no easy, light thing for him to do. To being there at the moment to offer up his son. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, said Yahweh, For because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. In this offering of the test of Abraham, for him to offer up Isaac, this brought in, as we see, this act of drama taking place on Mount Moriah. This brought in to play Moriah, saying the hill country, also from Moreh, out of Moriah. Yahweh, meaning Moreh, Yahweh is my teacher. And in thy seed, this is a prophetic reference concerning Yahushua HaMashiach. Shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. And it was on the third day, like I was saying, that Abraham looked up his eyes and saw the place afar off. He had traveled from Beersheba, and it truly, like I said, that would not have been 3 days to get to Tel Arad from leaving from Beersheba. We're going to go at this point to Joshua, the 15th chapter of Joshua. In this map, which you still like go back to like the main reading from in this, don't close it out, just go back. All right, and I want you to go to set 6. Set 6. Go to set 6 and hit on 31 to bring up that map. It should be entitled Journey of the Spies. And we're dealing from reading along within this map. And once we're dealing from verses 15, we're going to be dealing from 15 chapter verses 1 going to 13 and verses 63. But in this certain map right here, we breaking it up. We're going to be dealing from verses 1 through 4 with using this map here as far as the journey of the spies. Now, in this map, scroll down towards the bottom of this map. All the way down to the bottom of it. Here, we're going to be reading from out of the 15th chapter of Joshua. All right. We're beginning from here, and you observe in this map what I'm reading from out of the 15th chapter of Joshua. This is the portion of the land of Judah. This then was the lot of the tribe of the children of Judah by their families to the border of Edom. You look on that map, you see Edom down there towards the bottom. This is the furthest boundaries of Judah. The wilderness of Zin, southward, was the furthest part of the south border. You saw the wilderness of Zin. You see it, this area, like I'm saying, back in the earlier parts of around, say, the latter part of the 70s, we was living in Dimona, and I was working for a company that we ended up working at 3 different locations: Tis-Glover-the-Rod, Petty Glass, Yom Amelech, the Salt Sea, and he took certain workers from the brothers, and we went to the wilderness of Zin in this area, which is well, I'll get to showing you on this other map concerning that. But I've been in that area, in the wilderness of Zin area, which is not that far from the nuclear plant that is in Dimona. But it reads, verse 2, and their south border was from the shore of the Salt Sea, from the bay that looketh southward. It's at the ending of the Salt Sea. And it says, and it went out from the south side of the accent of Akravim. You see the accent of Akravim over from where Edom was at, or the Arava, the wilderness of Zin, and passed along to Zin, and ascended on the south side unto Kadesh Barnea, and passed along to Hezron. And you see there, and went up to Adar, and turned about to Kakah. The wilderness of Zin, you going over to your left, you see Adar, and then you got Kakah up towards the other area. In verse 4, from there it passed towards Azman, and went out unto the river of Egypt, and the end of that border was at the sea. This shall be your south border. I have here, just a second, keep the way that I did. I just hit on this link. Don't leave from out of that other link, because we're going to go back. But bring, and it should bring up this link. The point of this is a closer look of understanding what is talked about in verse 4. The river of Egypt, meaning that boundary of the land that was as far as like Egypt and Israel, as far as the tribe of Judah. The farthest south border. And I'm going to, if you look at it, if yours did, it should have came up in a larger set that you can look at it. It says the brook of Egypt, Wadi El Arish, biblical and historic border between Egypt and Israel. And you see the time period. If you stroll down towards the area that's down on your right side in the green, it says Joshua's border during that time period, 1400 BC. Now I'm going to read the 4th verse again. From there it passed towards Asman and went out unto the river of Egypt. You see, where it shows you in the green going over up there, Israel and Egypt, and you see the river of Egypt, Wadi El Arish, confirming that point, and went out to the river of Egypt, and the end of that border was at the sea, the Great Sea, meaning the Mediterranean Sea. This shall be your south border. You can leave from that map. I want you to come back to the first maps that we had, Bible land maps. And we are at verse 5, and we are going to be dealing I'm going to bring up from, we're going to be reading now from verses 5 through, we're in Joshua, still in Joshua the 15th chapter, and we're reading from verses 5 through 9. And I'm going to give you, hold still for that, and I'm going to give you, you can look at it from there. I'm going to give you another map to show more close here. Okay, I want to use this map. Give me a 4 if you can bring up this map. If you can bring up this map, give a 4, because for reading from verses 5 through 9, I would like to use this map showing from the point of Jericho. And when you get it, you see the picture, hit on that, and it should click on it, and it should bring it up in a larger form. Hit on the map to bring it up into a larger form, and it shall bring it up, and then stroll down to the area where, let's say, just come down to where you would see, like, say, where you see the red balloon at as far as Jericho, Old Testament. And I'm reading from verses 5 through 9 in Joshua the 15th chapter. And the east border, we just dealt with the south border, and the east border was the Salt Sea, even unto the end of the Jordan. You see where you have Jericho at, that blue line that's coming down, that's the river Jordan, and going into the Salt Sea, which they call the Dead Sea, but into the Salt Sea. That blue is the river Jordan, and we see that tip part of that light blue that is going into, that this is the Salt Sea. And it says the ending of the Jordan, because the Jordan River itself, it goes all the way up, even past the Sea of Galilee. This area, the Jordan River, which it gets its water from the Mount of Hermon. But this is showing that the east border from the farthest part of the Jordan, and the border went up to Beit Hogla. And you look over there, right there by the blue line, you see Beit Hogla, and passed along by the north of Beit Arba. There's Beit Arba, and the border went up to the stone of Boham, the son of Reuben. And the border went up towards Debir, from the valley of Achor, and so northward, looking towards Gilgal. And you see there where it says Debir, Joshua 15th chapter, verse 7, where we are reading from the valley of Achor, and so northward, looking towards Gilgal. Up there, that's right above, towards where Jericho is at, and Gilgal right above that. That is before the ascent of Idumim, which is on the south side of the river, and the border passed towards the waters of En Shemesh. You see, going now, looking back over, you see En Shemesh, and the end thereof was at En Rogel. That's right next to En Shemesh, En Rogel, right underneath the city Jebus, another name for Jerusalem. It is always done being as for us in the prophecy, for the fact that the children of Israel, when they entered and came into the land, they came from out of the wilderness of Zin, and they wanted to come in by the area down there where it shows Arad. But the king of Arad, which came out, it's a meaning for this. We still holding to this map. Post in the room Numbers, the 21st chapter, Numbers, the 21st chapter, verse 1. Smanuya. It says in here, when the children of Israel was coming to spy out the land, they looked and came up all the way up from down there in the region of the southern border. They wanted to come into the area because once you were in the wilderness of Zin, where they was wandering, up from there is Arad. But the Most High did not, the king of Arad, it says here in Numbers the 21st chapter, on verse 1, Numbers 21 and 1, and when King Arad, the Canaanite who dwelt in the Negev, heard that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. It was not meant for them. They did not go in from that area into the land. Another breakdown. We're going to finish and come back from where we was at in Joshua. But look at the map. We're in verse 8 of Joshua, the 15th chapter. And it reads, and the border went up by the valley of the son of Hinnom unto the south side of the Jebusite. And you still in the map of Jericho, you looked and saw that it says as far as like over towards the river Jordan, Beit Hogla, And then it said Beit Arba. It talks about the beer that we was reading from Joshua the 15th chapter verse 7. And it looks towards Gilgal, that's up above Jericho. Now, then it said it passed down unto the waters of En Shemesh and went to En Rogel and up to, we're reading now in verse 8. And the border went up by the valley of son of Neon and to the south side of Jebusite. The same is Jerusalem. And the border went up to the top of the mountain that lieth before the valley of Hinnom westward, which is at the end of the valley of the giants northward. And the border extended from the top of the hill unto the fountain of the water of Niphtoah, and went out to the cities of Mount Ephraim. And the border extended to Baalah, which is Kiriath Jearim. And you see right over from Jebus, Niphtoah, this water, these are streams that's running. Then Shemesh, En Rogel, Niphtoah, and then you look up and see right above that, Kiriath Jearim. This is the place that Kiriath Jearim, where when David had the ark, that the Ark of the Covenant was there before he carried it up to Jebus. We're going to hold there. We finished at verse 9. We're going to come back to verse 10. But I would like to read something while we are still in this map of Jericho. Go to Joshua, the 3rd chapter. Hold there. We're going to come back to Joshua, the 15th chapter. But go to Joshua, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 through 17. Joshua, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 through 17. This is dealing with Israel crossing the Jordan on dry shod. And this map deals with this also, of Jericho, this map. And it reads on this wise: And it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests who bear the ark of Yahweh, the Yahweh of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of the Jordan, that the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand in one heap. And it shall come to pass, and it came to pass, when the people removed from their tents to pass over the Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they who bore the ark were come unto the Jordan, and the feet of the priests who bore the ark were dipped into the brim of the water, for the Jordan overflowed all of its banks all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up in one heap, very far from the city. Adam. Now you look up, stroll up looking at your map. Just a little bit. You're still looking at Jericho with the red balloon, but you go up to the area where you're still looking, and you come and you see the city of Adam going up. It's on your right-hand side by the Jordan River, because the children of Israel are still on the other side of the Jordan. I'm reading verse 16 again. That the waters which came down from above stood and rose up in one heap very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zarethan. And you see it right over there on the other side. Now, it's talking about and those that came down towards the sea of the Arava, talking about the salt, even the salt sea, failed and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. So it's talking about from the area that they was at on the other side of the Jordan, that the Most High, when he parted the Jordan River, that parting all the way up past the city, all the way to the waters of the South Sea, that it cut off from making the passage of dry ground, showing the power of the Most High, that they came across the Jordan on dry side and passed over right against Jericho. And the priests who bore the ark of the covenant of Yahweh stood firm on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed completely over the Jordan. Add on to right here in the readings, Manu Yah, Joshua the 4th chapter, verses 15 through 24. Using the same map. 15 through 24. And it reads on this wise. And Yahweh spoke unto Joshua, saying, Command the priests who bear the ark of the testimony, that they come up out of the Jordan. Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, Come ye up out of the Jordan. And it came to pass, when the priests who bore the ark of the covenant of Yahweh were come up out of the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up unto the dry land, that the waters of the Jordan returned unto their place, and flowed over all of its banks, as they did before. And the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and encamped in Gilgal, in the east border of Jericho. And when they crossed over, they encamped at Gilgal, right over from Jericho. We say here as a witness, why did not the Most High, when they came from out of wandering in the wilderness of Zin, and they thought to enter into the land down in the area, and the king of Arad would not let them come in that way, that they traveled all the way back around on the other side of Moab to come down to this point? I say it is for the power and the manifestation of the Most High, Yahweh, being with them, that he did the same thing what he did to them with Moses when he brought them from out from Egypt, and the parting of the Red Sea, that he parted the river Jordan to let them go and enter into the land from here into encamp in Gilgal. And it says that on this 10th day, we are coming next month to the first month in April, for when it's talking about its Passover. So on the 10th day of April, that encamped in Gilgal in the east border of Jericho. And this was during the time period that the children of Israel, they kept the first Passover in the land when they crossed over the Jordan River in Gilgal. And those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan did Joshua set up in Gilgal, and he spoke unto the children of Israel, saying, When your children shall ask their fathers in time to come, saying, What mean these stones? Then ye shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land, for Yahweh your Elohim, dried up the waters of the Jordan from before you until ye were passed over, as the Yahweh your Elohim did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were gone over. Then all the people of the earth might know the hand of Yahweh that is mighty, El Shaddai, that ye might fear Yahweh your Elohim forever. Let us go back. I want you at this time to go back to the maps, the Free Bible land maps, to finish up in Joshua the 15th chapter. I want you to go to, give me just a second. I want you to go these maps from the Free Bible land maps. I want you to go for the ones that we are dealing with for the rest part of in the 15th chapter of Joshua. We're dealing with verses 10 through 13 and verse 63. But I want you to go to the map set 7. Go to set 7 and go down. I want you to hit on Israel and Canaan. It's showing Joshua to Samuel and Saul. And once again, I want you to go stroll down to on the map when it comes up to where you have Shechem at the top of your page, and that you have Shechem at the top of your page, and it shall show in between Jerusalem and down further you'll see Hebron. Okay. We're in Joshua the 15th chapter, verse 10. And it reads on this wise. We're reading verses 10 through 13 and verse 63, finishing up with this chapter. And the border compassed from Baalah westward unto Mount Seir, and passed along unto the south side of Mount Jearim, which is Chesalon. Now if you look at Jerusalem, which underneath is showing Jebus, we left from, like you see, Jericho is over towards the Jordan over there, and Gilgal is over towards your far right. But we're looking over towards your left, Kiryat Jearim, to the left of Jerusalem. And it says, and passed along the side of Mount Jearim, which is Chesalon, on the north side, and went down to Beit Shemesh, and passed on to Timnah. You see Beit Shemesh, all these cities that we are looking at upon this map are still in existence till today. That you see there that it says that it started up Kiryat Jearim and come down, and you look at Beit Shemesh, and it passed over towards Timnah, which is over farther to the left. Now I'm into verse 11. And the border went out unto the side of Ekron, northward. You see the city Ekron? And the border extended to Shekiron, which is right up above Ekron. and passed along to Mount Baalah, and went out unto Jebneel, and the end of the border was at the sea. It came, we looked at, from coming from Kiryat Jearim to the left of Jebus, Jerusalem, coming down to Beit Shemesh, then it's going across Timnah, Ekron, up above there, Shekiron, and then to even over towards Baalah, Mount Baalah, up to Jabneel, and finishing at the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea. Verse 12, and the west border was to the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and the coastline, the coastal regions thereof. This is the border of the children of Judah, round about, according to their families. And unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a portion among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of Yahweh to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which is the city of Hebron. And you see, one thing that I always was looking, that the point why I kept telling you all that from Shechem to Hebron, to Jerusalem, Jebus in the center. This is like the border regions that we're looking at, that from the north was Shechem, to the far south was Hebron, to the west was the Great Sea, and towards the east was Jericho and the Jordan River Valley, which is at the top of where you are seeing the Salt Sea. But it's the ending of the Jordan River that runs into it. Verse 63, as for Jebusite, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwelt with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day. As they was writing as far as in the points of the books of Joshua and looking at the Jebusite Jerusalem, what I'm pointing to and clearing is that from the time of Abram in Salem to on Mount Moriah, called to the Isaac, the sacrificing of him, down to Joshua, as far as it is not changed, as far as the location of the cities that surrounded Jebus or Jerusalem or what was called Salem, that it was in still the same location. Let us look in traveling in time to 2 Samuel, the 5th chapter, verses 3 to 10. We're going to, when in this, I want you to, click from this map, go back to where you have the locations of the different maps. I want you to scroll to set 8. Go down to set 8 to 51, 051, which is David's rise to power. And bring up that map. And then scroll it down to where you see the square area showing the square concerning the area that we are reading from. It's a red square that is surrounded concerning that area. We're reading from out of 2 Samuel, the 5th chapter, verses 3 through 10. And it reads on this wise. So all all the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron. We see Hebron where the star is at the bottom of the red square. And King David made a league with them in Hebron before Yahweh, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, who spoke unto David, saying, Except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come in here, thinking David could not come in here. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, the same is the city of David. And David said on that day, Whosoever getteth up to the water shaft, and smiteth the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind, who are hated of David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. Wherefore they said, The blind and the lame shall not come into the house. So David dwelt in the fort, and called it the city of David. And David built round about from Milo and inward. And David went on and grew great. And Yahweh Elohim of hosts was with him. You see in that map, in the square area, he was in Hebron where he had his capital. And then they came and wanted him to come up. And you see where it says Jebus. This is still in the same area that we've been dealing with. It says Jebus, Jerusalem. You have Bethlehem right underneath it of Ephrat, Gibeon up towards the top. We was reading Beit Shemesh. These cities are still there. And then going all over and even towards the area where you see over there Jaffa, where we used to live at up there in Tel Aviv, Jaffa. But you look in what it says there, when it's at the white part in the enclosure, David captures Jebusite stronghold and points to Jebus. And you see Jericho right outside of the square area. But it's showing that from all of that time that the borders that was between, when he moved from out, this was also in the link that Jacob had gave. But it's showing here that when the two borders he had from Hebron where he was at, he moved to Jebus, which is in the center, and the northern border was from Shechem, going down to Hebron to the south, the Great Sea, the Mediterranean to the west, and inland Jericho and the Jordan border as far as the Jordan River border. This is the eastern border, like that. Let us continue. Go to 2 Chronicles. I want you to go to 2 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter. We're dealing from verses 1 through 18. And I want you to go back. No, it's in the same area. Scroll down and go in set 8. Go back into, leave from this map and go into here on your arrow and go back to the Bible land maps and stroll down in the same set 8, go on down to the bottom. I want you to go and bring up the map, set 8, it's 55, Solomon's building activities. And we are reading along from this 2 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 18. And it reads on this wise. 2 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter, we're reading from verses 1 through 18. And Solomon determined to build a house for the name of Yahweh, and a house for his kingdom. And Solomon counted out 70,000 men to bear burdens, and 80,000 to hew in the mountain, and 3,600 to oversee them. You listening to the amount of the labor force that Solomon got? It sits and says that he had the 70,000 men to bear the burdens. That was 70,000 men. 70 to bear burdens, and 80,000 to hew in the mountains, to bring and hew the mountain rocks. This was 80,000. So he had a workforce of 150,000 to build, in the preparations for the build the temple. And he had 3,600 to oversee the work. This was just the ones that was overseeing, like the foremen, the contractors, to dealing with the workforce. But 150,000 to build the temple. And Solomon sent to Hiram, the king of Tyre, saying, as thou didst deal with David my father, and didst send him cedars to build for himself a house to dwell in, even so deal with me. Behold, I will build a house to the name of Yahweh my Elohim, to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings, morning and evening, on the Sabbaths, and on the new moons, and on the solemn feast of Yahweh our Elohim. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. And the house which I build is great, for great is our Elohim above all gods. But who is able to build him a house, seeing the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain him? Who am I then, that I should build him a house, except only to burn sacrifice before him? Send me now, therefore, a man skillful to work in gold, and in silver, and in bronze, and in iron, and in purple, and crimson, and blue, and who has training to engrave, with the skillful men who are with me in Judah and in Jerusalem, who David my father did provide. So he's got a host of workforce that he has, and he's sending to bring forth some skillful craftsmen. And Hiram was the one that came. But he said, send me also cedar trees, fir trees, and algum trees out of Lebanon, for I know that thy servant have skill to cut timber in Lebanon. And behold, my servants shall be with thy servants, even to prepare timber in abundance, for the house which I am about to build shall be great and wonderful. we have to look at the point of the force that he has in to deal with this endeavor. We have to look at the area that is claiming, because when it sits and says that the Most High, when he even told them that I shall bring thee to a place that I shall choose, you could not just offer no offerings or sacrifices up to the Most High Yahweh in just any place. And it seems that's just like in the same time period of Abraham with Isaac on Mount Sinai, on the Mount in Salem, where he was spending on Mount Moriah to offer up, that we look and see that the time cycle has came again, as far as in the time cycle where David could not build the temple because of blood on his hands, that it was given unto Solomon his son. And he says, a house great and wonderful. And behold, I will give to thy servants the heaven hewers who cut timber, 20,000 measure of beaten wheat, and 20,000 measures of barley, and 20,000 baths of wine, and 20,000 baths of oil. Then Hiram, the king of Tyre, answered in writing, which he sent to Solomon, because Yahweh had loved his people, he had made thee king over them. Hiram said, moreover, blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, who made heaven and earth, who had given to David the king a wise son, endued with prudence and understanding, who might build a house for Yahweh and a house for his kingdom. And now I have sent a skillful man, endued with understanding, of Hiram my father's. This man's name was Hiram, and he was of the tribe of Naphtali, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a man of Tyre, skillful to work in gold, and in silver, in bronze, in iron, in stone, and in timber, in purple, in blue, and in fine linen, and in crimson, also to engrave any manner of engravings, and to devise every device which shall be put to him, with thy skillful men, and with the skillful men of my master David thy father. Now therefore the wheat and the barley, the oil and the wine, which my master hath spoken of, let him send it unto his servants, and we will cut wood out of Lebanon, as much as thou shalt need, and we shall bring it to thee in floats by sea to Jaffa. Now you look from where you see the arrow pointing for the construction of the temple of Yahweh, palace and city, Jerusalem, but Jaffa over there to the seacoast. Now, it's showing that he said that he was going to bring from up Tyre down to Jaffa area on floats these cedars and the wood that was needed. And then he says, and thou shalt carry it up to Jerusalem. Anytime that you are traveling, like when we was living in Tel Aviv, in Jaffa, when you're traveling, coming across, you're in flat plain area on that coastal area, but once you start into that climbing, going to Jerusalem, you are going up. And then a point would say, because you're going into the mountain regions, that's why it's showing you into that area, starting from that area from Jerusalem. Those is mountain regions. If you traveling in a car that you ain't got it into top shape, you're going to have problems trying to get to Jerusalem. But if it was so that it was all the way down to where a rod is at as far as the Jerusalem, he could have went further down. Why would they stop at Jaffa to take it up to Jerusalem? if that it was so that Telluride was down there at the border for us, like down there, saying that was Jerusalem. Not so. Not so. Verse 17, and Solomon numbered all the sojourners who were in the land of Israel after the numbering by which David his father had numbered them, and they were found 150,000 and 3,600. This was the 70,000 that was the ones to carry the burden, and then the 80,000 that was supposed to be the hewers of the stone from out of the mountain region, and then it was 3,600 men to oversee. This had to be a great work. And I testified that the point of when he says the great magnificence of what it was as far as like the temple building, that we're going to keep continuing on. From where we are at right here, I want you to bring up in the chapter, just 2nd Chronicles, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. Second Chronicles, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. And it reads here, then Solomon began to build the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah, where Yahweh appeared unto David his father in the place that David had prepared in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And in that map you see I want you to bring up this map. Go back to your point of the reference and go and bring up Jerusalem. It's all the way down into the bottom of that same set. Go and bring up Jerusalem in the time of David and Solomon. It's 56. Set 8, Jerusalem in the time of David and Solomon, and it's 056. This pictorial map showing. You see where we was reading, then Solomon began to build the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem in Mount Moriah. Showing you at the top view, Mount Moriah, the temple mount, the Kidron Valley. Over towards your east, you see Mount of Olives. Going down, you see that Milo and the city of David. Then all going around where we was reading from earlier when we was in Joshua talking about in the 15th chapter, the Hinnom Valley. You see right over down from there, you see up there where it's saying Milo and the Warren Shaft, the Gihon Springs. And then down lower you see the King's Pool and En-Rogel. These is the same areas of the city. And during the time period where we have told that Solomon had an older brother that tried to steal the kingdomship from him, Adoniah. And he had another mother, but the same father, David. He tried to have a coronation crowning himself as king with Joab and them down in Rogel. while at the same time that Solomon was being crowned as king, who David chose in the Gihon spring up there by the area of Milo. But what this is showing that the time from all the way from Salem, which is Jerusalem, from Abraham, to the time period where he came and the Most High tested him and told him to leave from Beersheba and go to the area of the land of Mount Moriah and to sacrifice Isaac. This was similitude of the testimony of the prophecy concerning Yahushua from that first verse that we started off in this lesson of part 1 of the suffering servant in Luke the 18th chapter 31, when Yahushua said, "Then he took unto him the 12 and said unto them, Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and all things that are written by the prophets concerning the Son of Man, this must be fulfilled and accomplished." So we are seeing that this is brought to the point of the area from the time period from all the way from Abraham down to David, past Joshua and Moses, to Solomon and the structure of building on Mount Moriah the temple. You can come back from that map. We're leaving from this, and I'm going to give you another link. But you should keep that link in your favorites. I'm bringing up another pictorial library of Bible land. Give a 4 if you can get this link. This is a pictorial library of Bible lands. And once you get it, give a 4. And it should come up at the top of it, Jerusalem revised and expanded. And I want you to scroll down to a set of area where it show on one side it says more than 650 high resolution photographs of the regions and sites. Stop there. It's a few that's got it. Okay. This is going to be this. I want you, when you get this pictorial library of Bible lands, that it shows Jerusalem revised and expanded. I want you to stroll down to the section where it says more than 650 high-resolution photographs of the regions and the sites in this area. It's certain areas that I want us to go in to witness this together. We can move on. The first one I want you to hit on is over where it says in the regions, click on the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount. It brings up this picture, what it says also known as Haram Esh-Sharif, Mount Moriah, the the noble sanctuary temple platform. And I'm reading what it says here from Kidron Valley. Often visitors wonder why the Temple Mount is not the highest point in the city when the Bible seems to describe it as such. The answer is that the city today, including the old city, has grown and shifted from its original location. The earliest city of Jerusalem is the city of David, a smaller hill south of and lower than the Temple Mount. But you see the structure of the building of this, and it's similar to what was shown as far as the picture that they showed as far as like in Tel Arad. But the point of it is that Tel Arad is not Jerusalem. This here is showing the area, and we've still got points to clarify. Click back out of this. I just want on your arrow to bring back up those resolutions. The next one to hit on is over on the sites. Hit on the area G in sites, and it shall bring up Jerusalem, city of David, and area G. And it says also known as Jebus, the eastern hill, city of David. The city of Jerusalem was originally built around the Gihon spring on the southeastern hill to the south, left of the Temple Mount, which is today crowned with the golden dome of the rock. Jerusalem has been continuously inhabited since at least 3000 BC, but it was only in the time of Solomon that the city limits expanded beyond the southeastern spur known today as the city of David. And you see this aerial view. Hit on your arrow and come back out. I want you to hit on in the regions the Mount of Olives. It'll bring up this pictorial view of the Mount of Olives, also known as Olivet, Mount of Olive, Har Hazaitim. And it's showing this picture view from the Kidron Valley. And it reads, separated from the eastern hill, the Temple Mount, and the city of David by the Kidron Valley. The Mount of Olives has always been an important feature in Jerusalem's landscape. From the 3rd millennium BC until the present, this 2,900-foot hill has served as one of the main burial grounds for the city. The 2-mile-long ridge has 3 summits, each of which has a tower built on it. In this one, I want us to stroll down because there's some other pictures that I want you to do. See, come down to where it shows the Garden of Gethsemane. And here it is, showing this mountain view. Early Christian pilgrims located the Garden of Gethsemane at the bottom of the slope of the Mount of Olives, opposite the Temple Mount. Byzantine crusaders and a modern church were built successfully on the site where it is believed that Yahushua prayed to the Father hours before his crucifixion. The modern church of all nations has a beautiful mosaic on its facade. Stroll on down till you get to where it shows the Church of Mary Magdalene. Now, for the Russians to be as atheists and how they are, and even showing that they thought when they brought in these supposed to have been Jewish Russians for their aliyah, most of all of them are Christians. They have Christmas trees. They eat swine's flesh. They have the Kingdom of Port, 2 locations up in Tel Aviv area, and they are full with the Russians and all throughout the land. But here it is. It says the Church of Mary Magdalene. This Russian Orthodox church was built in honor of the Khazar's mother in 1888, and the mosaic inside depicts the legend of Mary Magdalene presenting an egg to the Emperor Tiberius. Now, you see here, once again, this egg, and then you remember Semiramis, and how she was the wife first of Cush. Then she ended up marrying Nimrod, who was her son. Then she ended up marrying the son that she had with Nimrod, her son, and married Tammuz. And this all turned about with her father talking about some fertility and talking about some egg. And then you have, even today, why would they Easter, same name of the same hellish woman with incest. The egg allegedly turned red when she handed it to him, symbolic of Jesus' blood. That's just a damnable lie. Approximately 30 nuns from all over the world live in the convent here today. But we see there's something as far as like the Russians, all of them are up inside in there today and still claiming their portions inside of the messing with Jerusalem. And the other point is looking down, stroll down, Dominus Velvet Church. And it says this was built in 1955 to commemorate Hamashiach's weeping over Jerusalem. Dominus Velvet features a beautiful view of the city through its distant chapel window. Excavations during construction of the church uncovered a number of ossuaries, bone boxes from the time of Yahushua with numerous inscriptions. But the point I want to show from there, they are on the Mount of Olives, and they are looking over towards the area of the Temple Mount area. And it says that they did it in the point that how Yahushua, when he lamented and he wept over Jerusalem, and he says, as you look at that, wanted to read something to you. And this is being read from out of Luke, the 19th chapter. And it's from verses 41 through 44. Yahushua laments over Jerusalem. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hidden from thine eyes. For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. We see them as they steal, and I want you to come back out from here and go back to the area, hit on your area and come back. It's one more site to go into. Hezekiah's tunnel. Click on that. Hit on your arrow, go back to where it shows the regions and site, and in the area, click on and sites Hezekiah's Tunnel. And as you look and see here in Hezekiah's Tunnel, it says here the Gihon Spring. The only spring in Jerusalem. The Gihon is a symphonic karstic spring, and its name means gushing. It surges and the sound can be easily heard. It is estimated that the Gihon could have supported a population of about 2,500. The cave is a natural one, but it has been widened. Solomon was anointed at the Gihon spring while his brother Adoniah was attempting to take the throne through a surreptitious, meaning this word surreptitious means by stealth or something secret. He tried to do a secret coronation, crowning himself king while Solomon was being crowned in the Gihon Springs. Adoniah was trying to do it in coronation in Rogil. These same are in Jerusalem, as we saw in the maps of Jericho and also as far as inside of Jebus. Now, scroll down a little and look at these pictures. The tunnel. And look at the different ones going down. Scroll down. Just talking about a 17,050 foot, 530 meter tunnel carved during the reign of Hezekiah to bring water from one side of the city to the other. Hezekiah's tunnel, together with the 6th century tunnel of Ephialus in Greece, are considered the greatest work of water engineering technology in the pre-classic period. Had it followed a straight line, the length would have been 1,070 feet, 335 meters, or 40% shorter. Stroll on down and looking at the pictures, stroll down. And I want you to look and keep these, because this here is really something. Because this here is in Jerusalem at this very time. I'm going to post you. Keep these links. I have another short. Give me a 4 if you can get this. This is a very short video showing again Hezekiah's tunnel in Jerusalem today.
There are moments in life when you have to decide which path you take. The entrance to Hezekiah's tunnel is one of these moments.
Here at our feet flows the Gihon Spring, the main source of water for the city of David. From here, the water flows through the heart of the rock to the Siloam pool.
Today, you can choose between 3 different routes to get there.
The Dry Canaanite Tunnel, which was recently opened to the public, a splendid scenic walkway above the ground, or this, a 533-meter walk inside the tunnel, carved in the heart of the rock, wading through the cold water.
In my opinion, this is one of the most exciting experiences in all of Jerusalem.
This tunnel was created by King Hezekiah about 2,700 years ago as part of the preparations for the Assyrian siege, and to this day it still conceals many secrets. In 1880, 2 youngsters were trudging through the water when suddenly one of them felt strange carvings on the wall.
They brought a torch and discovered a rare Hebrew inscription dating Hezekiah's period.
That begins as follows. The tunnel was carved through, and this was the way it was cut.
We are out of the tunnel, and here we are in the Siloam pool.
In ancient times, this pool looked completely different. Today, we have only just started uncovering the pool that existed here in the First Temple period.
But in 2005,
impressive parts of the Second Temple period Siloam pool were accidentally discovered.
the city of David never ceases to surprise us.
I have just in the time, just two more scripture references to deal with in part one. Give me a 4 if you can get this link. This is the same link that we had before. It's a map of Jericho. Hallelujah. I truly appreciate you all and the time that's allowed to do this. This here is once again using the map of Jericho that's showing this portion that I want to deal with. We're reading from out of 2 Kings, the 25th chapter, verses 1 through 7. And this is at the time period of King Nebuchadnezzar and the siege against Jerusalem. 2 Kings, the 25th chapter, verses 1 through 7. And observe the click on to bring up. If you click on the map, it'll make it bigger to come and look at it. And stroll down, because where we're looking at, to look down at the area of Jericho and looking across towards where you see Jebus, Jerusalem. Jericho is in the red balloon, and Jebus, Jerusalem, is right above in Rogil, where we was just reading about, where Adoniah, David's son, tried to steal the coronation, crowning himself king in Jerusalem. It reads in 2 Kings, the 25th chapter, verses 1 through 7, on this wise. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his hosts, against Jerusalem, and encamped against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. Zedekiah was the brother of Jehoiakim, who was the king who gave up and surrendered himself unto Nebuchadnezzar when he came in that part of the siege against him, that he surrendered. And he carried to Babylon Jehoiakim and his mother, all of the men of the thousands of the craftsmen and the smiths and the princes, all those he carried to Babylon. And he made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king instead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. This is that same Zedekiah that we're talking about. Verse 3, and on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. Now, we know for a surety that in the captivity of our people through the transatlantic slave trade, that our people suffered in the slave trade in America, that we did not eat our children. We suffered greatly for the abuse and wondering whether our life would be. We wondered in the morning whether you was going to see the sunset, and at the sunset you wondered if you was going to see the sunrise. But when it talks about that the tender woman delicate, that she would eat her children that came from beneath her legs, between her legs, that this is talking about the siege of different times that our people, that they sit up there and they fell into different situations. But the famine was sore that it was no bread. This time period that we are looking at, as far as them, the famine prevailed in the city. And I take that back. We are looking at the time period from when Rome, that's when they ate their children. But in this, the famine was really great and prevailed in the city, and they had no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls. This is talking about the escape tunnel, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went the way towards the Arva. Now we look and see Jebus, and in the city itself, like we was looking at that King Hezekiah and how he cut off the Gihon spring to bring in the water into the city, and that was an underground tunnel. When the city got to being in the situation, it says that they went, the men of war, along with King Zedekiah, they went into the area by the king's garden and went out towards the Arva. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. And all his army were scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon, put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of bronze, and carried him to Babylon. Now, the point here is that, like I've been saying, all the way from the time period of Abraham with Selim of Jebus, down to the point where he was going to offer up Solomon to Isaac on Mount Moriah, to all the way to Joshua, and to David, to Solomon, Jebus, the same. And one of the things that is so clear that has not changed was, why did the Most High let them come in towards the area, crossing from Moab over into the Jordan River, into the Gilgal and Jericho? That Jericho is about, I say, 17 or 20 miles from Jerusalem. But when you are leaving out from Jerusalem, you are into the mountain regions, like I said. But you come around into that area, and it's the Jericho road. And once you leaving and coming into the mountains and going through the mountains, leaving out, you start to come down after, say, maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes drive, 30 minutes at the most drive, to coming to the plains of Jericho, where it says that when he tried to escape out of Jebus and coming under the underground tunnel, and it came out towards the Siloam Valley over towards the area where that road, and he tried to flee, that they captured him in the plains of Jericho. This has not changed. And when you look at the point that Tel Arad is always down towards the ending of the sea, of the Salt Sea. It's nowhere into the vicinity close around that it would have took, that it's like from this area that we're looking at where Jebus, Jerusalem, and Jericho is, that if you came and tried to travel the coastal regions of the sea to get down to the area today where that you come to the ending of the Sea of the Salt Sea and the Dead Sea, what they call it, you would come up towards the Rod, but that's a 2-hour drive. It's no way possible that he could have went in some tunnel and traveled that far to saying that if he was at Tel Arad, that he came out to Jericho plains all the way up to the further end of the eastern border. So the closing scripture that I want to go to is in Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 30 through 37, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 30 through 37. And this map showing where we was looking at Jebus, Jericho, the parable of the Good Samaritan fits with Jericho, which is an ancient city and has always been closely tied and linked close to the cities that surround Jebus, Jerusalem. And it reads on this wise. We're reading from out of Luke, the 10th chapter, verses 30 through 37. And Yahushua answering said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. Saying again. And Yahushua answering said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And fell among thieves, who stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, leaving from out of Jerusalem, and he traveling down, a priest leaving from the temple. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise a Levite. Now the priest was the ones that was supposed to have been of the Aaronic family, that they went only into the holies of holies on Yom Kippur. And that the Levites, they mended to them as far as like serving in the temple areas like that. When he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side. People shaking his head. See, you're in trouble, but, I ain't got time, you know. Hey. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was. And when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And we sit and think back at this story, why when Yahushua was speaking to the woman of Samaritan and telling her about the water that he would give her, And she was talking about, well, this well is Jacob's well, and then telling him about, but she said, well, why are you asking me for water? The Samaritans don't have any dealings with you Hebrews. But this saying that this Samaritan, who was not a priest, who was not a Levite, but he stopped and saw and had compassion on him and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine and set him on his own beast, his own mule, his donkey, and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And on the next day when he departed, he took out 2 dinars and gave them to the host and said unto him, take care of him, and whatever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? And he said, he that showed mercy on him. Then said Yahushua unto him, go and do thou likewise. I thank you all for this opportunity, for bringing part 1 of the suffering servant. May the Most High Yahuwah bless and keep us all, and let us continue to pray for one another, for we all need prayer. And don't be never in dismay to stand up and be stuttering, to lift up your voice in testimony and giving praise unto the Most High Yahuwah, and through the grace that is bestowed upon us. Because Moses, he brought the law, but grace and truth came by Yahushua HaMashiach. And I look forward to bringing part 2. Love you all, and may the Most High Yahuwah bless and keep us all. Thank you for this opportunity. The Suffering Servant, part 1.